So when I was at William & Mary, I did an internship with the Scowcroft Group, working for General Scowcroft. And he had been the National Security Advisor for George H.W. Bush. And in that capacity, I developed relationships with people in his office that I still, to this day, or I still consider them mentors, and they still help me with my career. And it was a taste for me of what it was like to work in international relations and kind of see the world more globally. But I'll never forget, he was my commencement speaker. So after having done an internship with him during my summer of my sophomore year, after my senior year, he was the graduation speaker, and I'll never forget, he talked about the importance of public service in his graduation speech. And he said that the future of this great nation laid in the hands that were at the helm of state. And that was why it was important to have good people in public service. And as somebody who was a refugee and an immigrant to this country, I was so grateful for all the opportunities that I had received. And I remember sitting there in the audience thinking to myself, oh, I've made the wrong choice, because I was planning to go work for Deloitte Consulting, and I had accepted the offer in the fall. I'd known all of my spring semester that I was going into business consulting. And I remember sitting there at graduation thinking, oh my gosh, did I make the wrong decision? And I think that speech and that idea of public service and the importance of it sort of stuck with me while I worked at Deloitte. And I worked for Deloitte for 2 years, and 9/11 happened just a little over a year after we all graduated that spring. And it deeply affected me. I remember spending days just with my roommate, a classmate and a sorority sister. We were living together here in Northern Virginia. We were all just glued to the TV and also our phones, waiting to hear from classmates that were missing in New York. And it made such a deep impression on me, and those words that he spoke at my graduation made me decide to leave the private sector and go back to grad school and to go seek a career in public service. And so that's how I ended up at Georgetown, and then in the office of the Secretary of Defense, working on national security issues. And it was incredibly gratifying. I loved my job in OSD policy, and I left the job because my husband got a chance to run his own business in Florida, and there really wasn't an opportunity for me to continue to do that in Florida, so I went back to the private sector. But I think, we moved to Florida, I'm working in the private sector, and 2016 comes along, and I'm still the patriotic person who's committed to public service that I was when I left Deloitte to go work at the department. And I'm hearing in the 2016 election, rhetoric that doesn't comport with America. I know I'm seeing dysfunction in government, and then the Pulse nightclub shooting happens, and it became another one of those moments where I thought to myself, he's right. It matters who's in public service. And so I got into this race. 4 months out from a November election, I decide to challenge a 24-year Republican incumbent because I really believe that you had to change the kinds of people you were sending to Washington in order to change the way Washington works and have it serve the people better. And I ended up winning in November, and that kind of leads us to today. But, William & Mary gave me the skill set, and I think also the passion for public service that has kind of carried me in through my career.
Wonderful.